Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of TJ Plays with some AI stuff. In this edition, I want to talk a little bit about the native Figma MCP and what it can do with skills. And I thought it might be helpful to native Figma MCP users if they had some of the tools that were available within the Figma Console MCP. So what I did was I took 22 of the most common and most powerful tools that the Figma Console MCP has and turn them into individual skills and pop them in this public repository. I'll post the link to this repository in this post. And it's pretty robust. It's got a lot of really good ones that get a lot of mileage. And the README is very specific in how to install, and whether you're using Claude Code, Claude Desktop, or other platforms. And it also has a nice little section at the bottom that outlines what each tool does or each skill does that's in there. So the Figma Console MCP has over 100 tools, and I wanted to pare it down to the ones to select the ones that didn't overlap with what already exists within the tool set of the native Figma MCP. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't include any superfluous skills that you can already do with some of the new features of the native Figma MCP. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take you through the installation of a couple of these. So the way I would probably do this if I were you is I would do the clone the repo, or I'd go here and then I would click the download zip. And then that download zip is going to bring you to, if you're on a Mac, it'll put it in your downloads folder. It'll create this little zip right here. You can unzip that zip and then dive into it. And then you have a bunch of these are all the skills that are in here. So each one of these contain a skilled MD file and then whatever corresponding scripts or other markdown files that are associated with them. So today I'm going to use this Figma export tokens, and I am going to install it in so for Claude Code, for skills, you install it in your home directory and then in the .claude directory, and you'll see what the skills file is. So I'm going to take this over here, already in my home directory. If I scroll down to Claude, open that up. Open it up. There it is. And then scroll down here, you should see another directory called skills. And then I have some skills in here already. I'm going to overwrite that one. I already had the export tokens one in there. So now this is going to be available in Claude Code. So that means it's available in both Claude Code CLI, and it's available within Claude Code if you're using Claude Code in the desktop app. So now I am going to fire up Claude. And I'm going to use Claude Code for this first go around, and I'm going to start a new session. And then this new session is in this blank directory. It's a blank directory, and I just had it here. It's this. There's nothing in it. There's no directories, no nothing. So what I want to do is I want to get I want to export. I'm going to use this export feature to export all of the variables. To what format do I want? I'm going to export the variables from this design system to CSS custom properties. We'll start with that, just plain and simple, no dependencies. We'll say, and then we do this with a slash command. We'll say slash Figma export tokens, and I'll say, please export the variables from this Figma project using CSS custom properties. Give it the URL, and then let it go on its way. So while that's running, because this is going to take a little bit of time, there's Serena. Hello, Serena. This is a great MCP, by the way. I highly suggest you use it. It's really great for evals and a lot of deep thinking to accompany your AI agent. I'm going to always allow this. Sometimes when you install a new skill, you have to kind of monitor it for a little bit to make sure that you're giving it the permissions to run, unless I go here and go auto mode. Yeah. And then let's see, while that's running, we're going to kind of monitor this just to come back and see what's going on here. But I want to show what it should be showing if we take a look at the variables that are in here. So we're seeing a tier 1 of 226, tier 2 is 86. We're seeing a dark mode and a light mode here, and we're seeing, let's see if there's anything else that we can identify here. All this looks pretty standard. So these are the things that we'll look for once it's generated for these values and these references for these tier 1 and these tier 2. And let's see where we're at. So it got a total of 312, which I think if my math is right, 226 plus 86 equals 312. So that's great. What I want to stress for this, actually, while this is moving on, I can show you something that's in the actual file itself. So this is the skill markdown file. This is kind of the doorway into what kind of navigates how the AI agent is working with the task that you're providing it using this skill. So this is kind of the guidance. This skill is basically a way to extract variables from Figma and then drop them into your code base in any format. So this is basically Style Dictionary. If you're used to using Style Dictionary, this is that tool. You can actually dump this in a Style Dictionary format to be further formatted. It does Token Studio-like exporting. It uses the Design Tokens community group default JSON if you wanted to just export it as JSON. For this one, we're using the CSS vars. But yeah, there's a lot of great, and then you can ask to prefix, or if you wanted to like prefix with like your brand initials or something, you can do that. There's a lot of great features that are built into this skill. I like it a lot, and it gets a lot of mileage whenever we're fixing up new projects or trying to salvage older projects that have kind of funky systems between moving variables to tokens in code. Okay, so it looks like it's moving through. Let's take a look at what it's doing in the actual file. Okay, so it hasn't dropped anything in here yet. Looks like it's doing some more analysis. We'll come back to this. So just to read here. So core first half captured, and now it's moving on to the dark light modes. So it's doing a lot of analysis right now. So let's see. All right, all 312 variables captured. Core, we already went through this. So now it's going to start to assemble. So this is when you start to see these files come together in here. So this is the directory, the blank directory that this Claude Code session is running within. All right, now we can start to see some files coming in, and as this variables JSON. Oh, here's the tokens coming in. So here's the kind of the core file that has all of the values and references. And then here's the token CSS file. This should contain all of the, oh, need to open this in another file editor. And there we go. So these are generated CSS custom properties with this is the tier 1 going through all of these different values. And then, so this looks pretty good. Here's the tier 2 with the references. And then here's the dark mode. And I guess the default is the light mode. So just like that, that was like 4 or 5 minutes that it took to generate these tokens in this format. Other formats might take longer. Other formats might be shorter. But I thought that's pretty handy, given that the old way used to be like you have to export it into this the repository, and then from there you could still do that if you wanted to, and then from there you would run it through Style Dictionary. You'd have to create all of your conversion functions, but this kind of handles all that for you. And this, I think, is one of the newer tools within the Figma Console MCP, and I think it's one of the most powerful tools. So here's kind of the summary: 312 design tokens as custom properties, here it is. Yeah. So this is the dark. That is the light mode. And then I'm sorry, this is the root core one light mode. And this is the dark theme overrides. That's wonderful. And then they also ask you, do you want me to regenerate these in other formats? So I think that's pretty cool. So that's my example for this one. Now we'll take you to one that's a little bit easier. So I want to show you how to install a skill on in the chat area. So we'll go to customize, and then we'll go to skills, and then we'll go to add a skill, create a skill, upload a skill. And then so here we are in the upload area. I'll go back to where my skills are. Let's do audit accessibility. And so what you have to do for these is you have to zip them up. So I'm going to compress this one, and then I am going to add it to here. Oop, don't follow me. I'm going to add it to here. And then this should upload it to my Claude chat area. So now I have this uploaded. This is basically what it does. So the Figma audit accessibility tool or skill in this case, since we're going to be using the Figma native MCP, audits the accessibility on the design side. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to find a let's go with this badge. So I'm going to find this badge. I'm going to copy the link to this badge. Hopefully this won't take too long because it is just a tiny little thing here. And then I'm going to do / command Figma audit accessibility. There it is. And I'll say, can you please audit the accessibility of this component? Pop the link in there and then let it rip. While that's happening, I'll go through and show what that tool does. So we'll go audit accessibility. So it's a deep accessibility scorecard for a Figma component or component set. It runs through, it looks at things like, it gives it a score. It has target size. I'm trying to think of where was the area where it outlined. Here we go, audit categories. Variant coverage, focus indicator, color differentiation, target size, annotations, colorblind safety. A lot of the things that happen on the design side. We also have a similar skill that you run on the code side, but since I had already showed you some code stuff, I wanted to show you some stuff that happens on the design side. So same thing here, I gotta allow these things to continue running. So let's see, need the skill. So it found this, it got the skill, it's loading that skill. Now it uses the use Figma tool is like the Figma plugin API kind of powerhouse that runs a lot of the skills that the native Figma MCP uses. So now it is running the audit. We can kind of take a peek at it if we look inside here. This is going to give us the play-by-play of what's going on. Oh, and here it comes. So the badge audit got a 79 out of 100. It looks like all these things are passing with the hundreds. Variant coverage 75, 15 of 20 axes combinations present. So no annotations. Those are good to have. While this is going, I just want to mention that the native MCP, along with these skills, really can help the native Figma MCP be very much more design systems focused, which is great because I know that the Figma native MCP is kind of like omnipresent within Figma, but I love how these specific skills extracted from the console MCP can actually make the native MCP operate a lot like the console MCP. And so everything is just trying to push this forward in order to make all these handy tools more accessible for design systems practitioners. So here it is, variant coverage 75. It looks like there's some additions that could be made here that would help boost that accessibility score up. And some recommendations are to add descriptions, which that should have, and then some accessibility notes about ARIA roles. and then confirm 5 missing variant combos. So this is one you could play around with and you kind of keep talking. But anyway, I hope this is helpful. I'll post the link to the repo, and I'll see you next time.